It's always better when we're together. Well, we look at them stars and we're together. It's always better when we're together. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. All of these moments just might find their way into my dreams tonight, but I know that they'll be gone if the morning light sings or brings new things. But tomorrow night you see that they'll be gone too. Too many things I have to do. If all of these dreams might find their way into my day-to-day scene, I'd be under the impression I was somewhere in between, with only two, just me and you. Not so many things we got to do, or places we got to be. We sit beneath the mango tree now. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. Somewhere in between together. Well, it's always better when we're together. Yeah, it's always better when we're together. And I believe in memories, they look so pretty when I sleep. Hey, now and when I wake up, you look so pretty sleeping next to me. But there's not enough time, and there is no song I could sing, and there is no combination of words I could say. But I will still, I'll tell you one thing, we're better together.
Just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. Suzanne, the plans they made put an end to you. I walked out this morning and I wrote down this song. I just can't remember who to send it to. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend. But I always thought that I'd see you again. Won't you look down upon
Okay. Sorry, I like that song. I let it go a little bit long. Okay. Sorry, I was talking, but I forgot to unmute myself. That's something that happens all the time in Zooms, especially when I'm involved with them. So I just want you all to feel comfortable, and if something like that happens, just don't worry about it. We all understand. But it's time to get started. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Joe's next older sister. I'm the third child in our family. And I'll be speaking a little bit later to tell you about growing up with Joe. But now, let's see what's next on the. Okay, now it's time for our opening prayer. And I want to introduce Justin Hahn, who's the music minister for my church, First Baptist of Swannanoa. He's going to open us with prayer, and then he'll give us read some scripture a little bit later and do some introductions. So thank you for being here, Justin, and please go ahead.
Well, thank you, Lori. Friends and family, it's great to be with you today as we truly, what I hope is we celebrate the life of Joe. So if you would, let's join together in prayer. Father God, we thank you for what you've done and who you are. We know, Lord, that all good things come from you, Lord, and as we come together today to celebrate the life of Joe, Lord, I'm reminded that your word says that for those of us who know you and believe that to be absent in the body is to be present with the Lord. So, Lord, even now, we know that he is with you, and we rejoice in that. God, we mourn, we grieve. Lord, those things are okay. Help us through those as we continue to work through these emotions. Lord, I pray today that you would give everyone that is in this meeting hope. Lord, to know that this life is not the end for those of us who believe. God, I pray that your peace and your comfort would surround the family and friends that are gathered, not just for today, Lord, but for days and months ahead. We give you all the praise and the glory. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. So now I would like to introduce Miss Christy Parrish. She'll be singing a song called The Blessing.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. All right. I'm going to sing this in honor of Joe. I'm not a professional singer, so I hope it goes well, but this is for Joe. May the rain always fall soft upon your field, and the sun pour down like honey where you stand. May the wind be at your back and the road rise to meet you, and your soul rest at last in the hollow of God's hand. Life isn't easy. No one ever said it was. But if you are lucky, you will love and be loved. And may the rain always fall soft upon your fields, and the sun pour down like honey where you stand. May the wind be at your back and the road rise to meet you, and your soul rest at last in the hollow of God's hand. Trouble and sorrow carve the lines upon your face, but don't fear tomorrow, 'cause you will meet it with grace. And may the rain always fall soft upon your fields, and the sun pour down like honey where you stand. May the wind be at your back and the road rise to meet you, and your soul rest at last in the hollow of God's hand. May your friends be as many as the promises that you keep, and may your laughter in heaven to weep. And may the rain always fall soft upon your fields, and the sun pour down like honey where you stand. May the wind be at your back and the road rise to meet you, and your soul rest at last in the hollow of God's hand. In the hollow of God's hand. In the hollow of God's hand.
Lovely, Christy. Thank you so much. Now I'll start the slideshow.
When you're down and troubled and you need a helping hand, and nothing, oh, nothing is going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running, oh yeah, babe, to see you again. Spring, summer, or fall, now all you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yeah, yeah, yeah. You've got a friend. If the sky above you should turn dark and full of clouds, and that old north wind should begin to blow, keep your head together and call my name out loud now. I'll be knocking upon your door. You just call up my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running. Oh yes, I will see you again. Spring, summer, or fall, yeah. All you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, ain't it good to know that you've got a friend when people can be so cold? They'll hurt you and desert you. Well, they'll take your soul if you let them. Oh yeah, but don't you let them. You just call out my name, see you again. Oh, baby, don't you know about winter, spring, summer, or fall? Hey, now all you've got to do is call. Lord, I'll be there, yes, I will. Know you've got a friend. You've got a friend, yeah. Ain't it good to know you've got a friend? Ain't it good to know you've got a friend? Oh yeah, yeah, you've got a friend.
Well, I know it's kinda late. I hope I didn't wake you, but what I've gotta say can't wait. I know you'd understand. 'Cause every time I tried to tell you, the words just came out wrong. So I have to say I love you in a song. Yeah, I know it's kinda strange. Every time I'm near you, I just run out of things to say. I know you'd understand. 'Cause every time I tried to tell you, the words just came out wrong. So I'll have to say I love you in a song. Didn't wake you, but there's something that I just gotta say. I know you'd understand. Every time I tried to tell you, the words just came out wrong. So I have to say I love you in a song.
Okay, I almost got through that without crying. Okay, Joe's three sisters want to talk to you about Joe as we knew him. We're going to start with Mary, and then I'll say something, and then Carolyn will say something. So go ahead, Mary.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I want to add my thanks to the others for you attending and helping us honor Joe. Before I start, I wanted you to know that he actually had a big hand in planning this service. He picked a good many of the pictures that were in Laurie's wonderful slideshow, going through Mom's multitudes, and I mean multitudes, of photo albums to do so. He also chose the musicians who have graciously given their time and talent to us today. So Joe was my baby brother, literally. My memories of him began on a day in November 1959, when Mom and Dad brought home a beautiful little boy from the hospital. My parents really, really wanted a boy after the three girls. Joe was born in Germany in a tiny hospital in the town of Kreilsheim, sort of halfway between Stuttgart and Nuremberg. Dad was an Army chaplain stationed on the base there, and I remember his next Sunday's sermon began with a quote from Isaiah, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given." I thought that was pretty cool at the time. Since I was almost 11 years older than Joe, my parents recognized a built-in babysitter, of course, and he and I got to know each other well. I remember a cute toddler going through all the steps of early childhood, walking, talking, riding a tricycle and then a bike. And I also remember rocking him for hours when he was sick with a bad case of measles. I think he was about 2 then. Our life in the Army very much defined us. We moved every year and a half or so and had to be resilient and competent since we were always the new kid in school and made and lost friends on a regular basis. In addition, we traveled and camped extensively. I remember driving all over Europe when Dad was stationed in Germany and France. We would load up the VW bus, which of course was olive green, with canned goods and staples in the back, and all the luggage, sleeping bags, and tent paraphernalia on top. That was back in the days when all European countries had border sentries after World War II. And we had to pass muster to be allowed in. Dad would go and show his Army ID, and the soldiers would gaze at the bus with the incredible load on top, and 4 children, 1 a toddler, 1 a baby, and figure it was best just to let us through. I'm not sure how many of these trips Joe was actually on, but it is possible. He played on a Barcelona beach, was pushed in a stroller on French Riviera, rode in a gondola in the Swiss Alps, and gazed at Renaissance art in Italy. We were fortunate in this respect. When I left for college, he was only 6 or so. And when I got married 4 years later, he cried because he thought he would never see me again. This turned out to be close to true since I never lived close to home again. We knew each other's family and I would see him and we would see him when we went to Black Mountain to visit or on vacation anywhere near where he lived. But over time, we slowly drifted away from each other. I am sad about this fact, but life just led us in different directions. Joe had a number of starts and stops in his life, but every start was taken head on and with confidence of success. I prefer to remember him as the guy who made us laugh and gave the biggest, warmest hugs you can imagine. He was caring, fiercely loyal, clever, and had a wonderful, sneaky kind of humor. This is how I want to remember him. I am privileged to have been present at both the beginning and the end of his life. Laurie, you want to go next?
Yeah, I was remembering I had to unmute. Okay. Unlike Marion, I don't remember Joe's birth. From my earliest recollections, Joe was always there. Because we were an Army family, we moved frequently, and Joe and I naturally became each other's best friends growing up. I have many vivid memories of Joe when we were children together, like videos playing in my mind. I remember Joe's baby crib attached to the inside wall of our VW minibus in Europe, lying on an olive drab blanket, watching a fireworks show. Joe using his homemade butterfly net to build a large insect collection. Joe finding prized treasures in other people's trash cans. Walking Susie, our faithful, beloved boxer, both of us gripping the hand loop of the short leather leash and following Susie as she ambled around the neighborhood. Joe's 5th birthday party, buzz cut hair and ears sticking out, Joe meeting each arriving guest at the end of the driveway, accepting his gift and streaking inside with it, leaving his astonished guest behind. Playing with packing boxes when first arrived in Fort Benning, Susie crawled on her elbows into a mattress box with us and gave us enthusiastic kisses. Inspired by the Olympics, we invented synchronized bike riding at Fort Riley. Packing a can of bean and bacon soup, a can opener and 2 spoons in our backpack, and hiking to the edge of the housing area. Both of us with a terrible case of poison ivy after visiting Platte National Park in Oklahoma. Fishing with Dad at Fort Riley using a weird smelly putty as bait. And Joe proudly catching 3 whole fish while on a camping trip. Joe swimming, meet after meet in California and North Carolina. Oh, and driving him to practice at 5 a.m. Watching every episode of The Undersea World of Jacques Cousteau. Joe's abhorrence of anything fuzzy, including fresh peaches. The jewelry casting setup made out of a washing machine tub. Joe sculpting rings and pendants out of wax and casting them in silver. Taking the same speed riding class in high school, Joe, the class clown, keeping us all laughing. He actually used speed writing to take notes in biology and got in trouble because the teacher couldn't read it. He was vindicated though after reading his notes to the class. And Joe assuming the title Esquire in grade school and playfully retaining it all his life. One of the very best memories I shared with Joe was a cross-country road trip we took with Mom from the Presidio of San Francisco to Asheville, North Carolina. Dad was stationed at Fort Drum, New York for the last 6 months of his Army career. Mom, Joe, and I were to hitch our travel trailer to the Ford LTD station wagon, drive to Asheville, and secure a place to live before school started. Dad was to join us just as soon as he could. After we saw Dad off in his black VW Bug, angling northeast to Fort Drum, we headed south to Bakersfield and hung a left on our way to I-40 East. Ahead of us were the giant trees of Sequoia National Park, Pikes Peak, Santa Fe, the cliff houses at Mesa Verde, and the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. We soon became an experienced team, Joe and I. We adjusted the car's big side mirrors and signaled Mom as she slowly backed the car when hitching and unhitching. We lowered the trailer jacks and leveled her up, removed and replaced the hanging flower pots which filled the interior of our tiny house on wheels. We leashed up the 2 dogs, Nikki the Dachshund and Shayna the German Shepherd, and took them for an exploration around the campground, making sure that they were fed and watered. One standout event happened very early in the trip. Here it is in Joe's own words, his entry in Mom's birthday memory book. He called this story Soap on a Dope. I really don't remember where we were, just somewhere on our cross-country journey from San Francisco to North Carolina. The intrepid triumvirate led by our station wagon driving, trailer hauling Mama. I must have been a little funky a few days into our trip because it wasn't long after the jacks were secure and the gas lines were charged that I was sent to the shower. You see, our tow-behind home came equipped with all the latest in modern day accoutrements, including a shower. It measured about 2 feet by 3. It's funny, but I do not remember there being hot water. I've probably repressed those memories, meaning that we had no hot water. Regardless, I was no doubt filthy. So in I went, towel in one hand and soap in the other. Things began well with water aplenty. I lathered and scrubbed, getting well towards clean when disaster struck. The water of plenitude ceased as quickly as it had begun. Not even a dribble remained. I was left well lathered from head to toe with no way to rinse. There arose a wail of discontent from the shower area, I'm sure. Then began a diagnostic dialogue of what might be the matter. We could not be out of water since we had just recently filled the onboard tank. However, the fact remained there was no water emanating either from the shower or from other spigots on the trailer. With our combined plumbing knowledge exhausted in confirming the fact that there was no water, Mom then enlisted the assistance of what seemed to me was pretty much the entire park. I could hear it all, every discussion, every suggestion, every remedy. The story repeated innumerable times as each new participant to the chat group joined in. My son is stuck in the shower with no clothes on, naked. The water just quit. Yet there I stood, helpless, a humiliated pillar of suds. It was from this drama that we came to learn one of the finer points of trailer camping. Just one of many finer points, mind you. It seems that filling the water tank was more involved than simply holding the hose at the intake valve until the water flowed out. It required a specialized hose that, when inserted into the intake valve, would allow the air inside the tank to escape past the hose, thereby actually allowing the tank to fill. Problem solved with no permanent emotional scars. Our trip continued. Joe ended his story with a confession. He said, I have repressed another memory as well. I'm pretty sure that filling the water tank was my job. Joe was a huge part of my childhood and colored my memories with his indefatigable good humor. And now it is time to say goodbye. But no, I'm not saying goodbye. I'm saying so long, Joe, until I see you again in heaven.
Thank you, Laurie. There's Carolyn.
There's Carolyn.
Hello.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi there. Hello, my name is Carolyn Andrews, and I am one of Joe's older sisters. It was I who introduced Joe and Alvin, and I'm going to tell you that story today. Joe and Alvin first met at Mountain Hopes, a therapy riding stables for handicapped people in Mars Hill. Alvin kept a herd of rescue llamas, and I was there as a volunteer. One day, Alvin met a guy by one of the watering tanks in the pasture. He was inspecting for mosquitoes. They met and had a conversation. Later on, Alvin told me that she wished she could know a nice guy like that, a big friendly guy. I knew she was talking about Joe. So I decided to have a hand on this and formally introduce Alvin and Joe. I arranged for the three of us to go on a rafting trip. It turned out that Alvin was a rafting expert. When we got back, we went into town for beer and pizza. Joe and Alvin had an intense conversation, getting to know one another. They fell in love and never looked back. I say goodbye to you, Joe, and I love you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Okay. Aria and Molly are Joe's children, and they're going to present a collection of readings. I think Molly goes first. So you all go ahead and unmute yourselves and take it away.
Hi guys, thank you so much, of course, for being here. The happiness of the bee and the dolphin is to exist. For man, it is to know that and to wonder at it. Jacques Cousteau.
Life is eternal and love is immortal, and death is only a horizon, and our horizon is nothing save the limit of our sight.
Death leaves a heartache no one can heal. Love leaves a memory no one can steal.
How lucky am I to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard.
Do not stand at my grave and weep by Mary Elizabeth Fry. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sun on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain.
When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die.
When you were born, you cried and the world rejoiced. Live your life in such a way that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice.
Thank you too for those readings.
Thank you all.
Now we're going to move into a time of open mic. So this is a time for any one of you that have joined us to unmute yourself and speak and give any remarks you would like to on the life of Joe. So we will open this time now to do so. Just a quick reminder, you are muted, so you will need to unmute yourself when you speak. And if you would, after you're done, please mute yourself when you're finished. So we'll go ahead and open up this time now.
Okay, yes. I met Joe through the North Carolina Mosquito and Vector Control Association. He was working for the state at that time. And there were some meetings coming up that I was hoping to go to, but I couldn't afford to. And the city wasn't going to send me, you know, just funds were too tight, they would say. So Joe told me, he said, listen, if you'd like to go, he said, I snore. He said, if that don't bother you, he said, come on, there's a twin bed. He said, you can have one of them. So he made it possible for me to go to the first 2 or 3 meetings that I went to in the Mosquito Control Association. And I'll never forget that first day after, you know, that first night we slept. He got up that morning and Joe looked at me and said, man, he said, I thought I snored bad. Evidently, I must have really kept him awake all night. But and I enjoyed, you know, the time that Joe held workshops and training times with us. And there was a doctor in Rocky Mount that was trying to get into some of the mosquito stuff, and so he could teach his students about it also from the private school. And so I always enjoyed it. He taught me how to set light traps and places to look for, and how to between him and Bruce Harrison and Jeff Brown, they and Rick, they told me different places to look to try to find mosquito larvae and how to search for them. And things went, you know, seemed like going pretty good, and life was going on. Well, in 2001, we had a major change of my job. They merged vector control with housing code. And so we taught the guys how to do housing code information, or how to do the public health code information and enforcement. And we had to learn the part about housing code enforcement. And it seemed like our new supervisor had little to no experience with mosquitoes, other than if they're on you, hit them. So it looked like maybe they were going to phase out our whole mosquito program, really. And I talked to Joe about it, and he came down and met with my supervisor, and they scheduled a meeting with Public Works Director. And they went up, and he had a meeting and conversation with Public Works Director, and they came back about an hour and a half later. I heard them in the hallway laughing, so I went up front to see what went on. And the supervisor went into his office, and Joe and I went back to mine. And Joe told me, he said that was a real good meeting. He said, I think we've really crossed some, made some progress towards keeping your program going. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, because at the end of the meeting, public works director, your supervisor looked at me as we were getting on the elevator. He said, he looked at me and he said, "You silver-tongued devil, you." Joe had a way with words. He knew some big ones, and he just knew regular little words, but he had a way with it. And he was able to speak very eloquently when needed, and he can make things just simple so a child can understand it if needed. So, and I'll never forget when the first time my first big discovery in Rocky Mount for me was finding it was an Eclairtatus grossbecki, and I had gone through this trap and found this one mosquito. I thought, oh great, here's something that's like been mixed up with about 2 or 3 other, just kind of swirled together. I'll see things that look like Triceriatus. I saw things that look like another mosquito and then another mosquito, but nothing specific said it's this one mosquito. So I got my ID booklets out and went through them several times, and finally I called Joe. I said, listen, I've got a problem. I said, I've got something. I'm not sure what it is. I said, this is what I think it is. He said, oh no. He said, that's probably not. I don't think that's in North Carolina. And I think our guide at that time said it was not normally found in North Carolina. So we went through it. He got his short ID booklet out and went through it. And we went through and we'd back up and go through it again, and kept getting different points to look at and different characteristics on the mosquito to look at, and we kept going over and over. And it finally came down to the scales on the wings. The scales on the wings, if they were rounded, it was one mosquito. If they were squared across the top like they were chopped off, it was grossbecki. And we went through it several times just to make sure. And he finally told me, he said, brother, he said, I think you need to send that one to Winston-Salem. I think Bruce is going to want to look at that one. And so we did. And sure enough, Bruce confirmed it was a Eclairtatus or Aedes grossbecki. And that was my first big thing. But we stayed on the phone about an hour and a half trying to decipher that one mosquito and figure out what it was. But I've always enjoyed Joe and enjoyed his fellowship. And we had one chance to get back together excuse me, last spring. And that's when he turned over the treatment of that subdivision to me. And so we had a chance to spend a couple of good days together talking. And I really thought a lot of him. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name's Ryan Harrison. I've known Joe for quite a while, being in the mosquito world here in North Carolina. I'm going to go ahead and speak on the behalf of the North Carolina and Mosquito Control Association, Mosquito and Vector Control Association, when I say that, Joe was certainly a really powerful member of our association. Everybody knew him. Absolutely wonderful guy to hang out with. He was awful fun. After the association meetings in the evenings, we would often go and drink beers and carry on. But I'd like to read a resolution from the North Carolina Mosquito Association members from the board. And this is a resolution expressing sympathy for a deceased member of the North Carolina Mosquito and Vector Control Association. And whereas it is with profound sorrow that the North Carolina Mosquito and Vector Control Association learned of the death of Joseph E. Andrews, and whereas it is known by this organization that Joseph E. Andrews carried out his duties and responsibilities in such a manner that his talents and work were clearly reflected in constructive and lasting public health achievement. And whereas He will certainly be missed by his colleagues and his members and the members of the North Carolina Mosquito Association and Vector Control Association. And now therefore be it resolved by the North Carolina Mosquito and Vector Control Association that we do declare our deepest regret and do convey our sincerest sympathy and condolences to the family. Joe will be tremendously missed in our association. He was always right there. He was a big part of my family as far as hanging out with my father. He hung out with my father, and therefore I got to know him pretty well as well. And he was a great man to be with in the woods and do what we do in the mosquito world. And we will all dearly miss him. And I know I will personally miss him a lot. Thank you.
Hi, I'd like to follow up after Ryan. I was also am a member of the association, and that's how I met Joe as well, maybe 5 to 10 years ago. I've never had a paid position in the vector world, but he and I bonded over ticks and Lyme disease and other tick-borne infections. And I can attest to his huge, strong bear hugs. I always got the biggest hug from him, and it made me feel so good. And he always supported everything I did and everything I said. And I miss him very much. And I've enjoyed learning more about his life. I thank you all, and the beautiful song that Christy Parrish sang. I thank everyone. And it's a wonderful tribute to Joe. He will not be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you for that, for those words. I actually met Joe and Alvin through the Sanford Farmers Market. I grew up in Maryland, lived there most of my life, and I actually moved to North Carolina in 2012. And I started going to the Sanford Farmers Market, I'm guessing the following years, probably 2013, I guess, because I moved in October. And Joe and Alvin were the first people that I met at the market, and just got along with them really well, both so friendly. Joe, just, yeah, I mean, he was just very open and friendly, always had a big smile. And I started coming every week, more to see them really than for the market itself. And continued going back for a while. I ended up working with them a little bit at the market, helping with music and playing music at the market and various things like that. And just, became friends. And I started holding annual Christmas potlucks, and I would invite them along with other farmers market folks, and they'd always bring a turkey and stuffing to the potluck. That we always looked forward to that and to the time spent with them. So yeah, I mean, he was just a really great guy. I remember those big hugs too. So friendly, so open, just really happy that I had the opportunity to meet him. And Mom and I were also fortunate enough to visit shortly before he passed. And so I was really glad I got the opportunity to see him that one last time, because I didn't have a potluck in 2019. I just didn't feel like it that year. And then COVID happened. So then I didn't see him at all, 2020, that whole time I didn't see them. I knew, that he had gotten ill and, but I just hadn't had the opportunity to see him at all. So I was glad that I did get to see him that one last time and let him know how much I cared about him. And, I got to stand there kind of holding his hand for a bit and just let him know how much it meant to me, how friendly he had been to me when I came down here and didn't know anyone but my immediate family. So I think that's, to me, the biggest thing, just making me feel as welcome as he did.
And I'm Ismay Parrish, Christy's mom, and I met Joe through Christy at the farmer's market, and we had a lot of good conversations at her holiday parties. And I just remember him bringing in this big turkey, and it was just delicious. And I'd ask, "Can I take some home?" He said, "Oh, of course, of course." And then, of course, as Christy mentioned, we saw him very close to when he was about to make his transition. He asked to see both Christy and I was just so taken back by that. And when we walked in, he just held up his hands and hugged us, and said thank you. And so I'm so glad that I have both memories of him, just being an open, caring person, and then to know that he's made a peaceful transition. And I'd also like to say that Alvin has just been a godsend to him as he was to her.
Hi, my name's Jeff Heisel. I met Joe through my work with mosquito control, and gosh, I don't know how long I've known him, but it's been a number of years. One of the things that I never really knew about Joe was the fact that his life mirrored mine quite a bit. I was born in Germany, Bitburg, Germany, actually. And I was an Air Force brat, and we traveled all over Europe in a van. Actually, it was called the Comer, a camping van type thing, but it looked like a VW bug. Anyway, we never got around to talking about that. But now Joe was a real help professionally, and more than that, he became a very good friend to both me and my wife. Excuse me.
We'll miss him forever.
Yes, but I'll always remember. I always remember whenever Joe got up to do a presentation, you really never knew what he was going to say.
But I knew what he was going to wear, because he would call me first and ask me what kind of clothes he should wear, right up to the last convention that he attended sick. And he called and asked me if it was okay if he could wear suspenders and a belt, because he couldn't keep his pants up. And I was like, it's okay, Joe, I think you can do both. And I'll never forget the first time he called me after we became friends, and because I was in the fashion industry for years, and I guess he just figured I knew what I was talking about. And he would say, is it okay to wear a tweed jacket even though it's spring? And then I turned him on to a very expensive men's clothing store, and he never forgave me for it.
But
He
yeah,
was a fabulous guy.
we'll both miss Joe tremendously. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Sue Ferguson, and I've known Joe for probably 20 to 25 years through mosquito control, like Jeff and Lisa have said, and Ryan. I found out some things about Joe that I didn't know. I was a swimmer when I was, young. I loved Jacques Cousteau, and I guess we both majored in marine science or marine biology. But couldn't get a really good job in those fields back in the day. So I ended up working for the state health department in South Carolina in vector control. And this has just been a wonderful service, remembering Joe. And it's just so great that you've allowed us to share him with us for all these years. He's meant so much to so many people. And we did have, in MAMCA, I'm a member of the historian for the Mid-Atlantic Mosquito Control Association. And Joe was our president. He served as our industry director. He was the state director from North Carolina for several terms. And he was just always there for us in every way we needed him. So thank you again for sharing him with us. And as Jeff and Lisa say, he will not be forgotten.
Okay, my turn. Hi, everybody. I'm Dale Boyer. Hearing all these memories about Joe, seeing the slideshow, thank you, Laurie, for that. It has brought back even more memories. I've been trying to push on the button here and thinking, well, where do I start? I met Joe our sophomore year of high school when they moved to Asheville, and he, Tracy Coward, and I quickly became best friends. We were the terrible triumvirate, he called us, and Joe was like more of a brother to me than my own brother. I know that's cliche, but it's really true. His family even took me in my senior year when I was having problems with my own stepfather. Stayed with them for about a month and really felt what home was supposed to feel like. As far as memories, oh gosh, I've been having so many running through my head over the last few days, and even tried to write some of them down. Watching the slideshow, so many more coming through, including going through his mom's slides to pick out pictures for our senior project in art and film, and how upset she was that we got them out of order and didn't get them put back. So Joe and I, very close for a long time before life kind of took us our separate ways. When he was in college in Wilmington, I was stationed in the Marines about 50 miles north of there. And I would drive down, pick him up, and we would drive home for weekends. We spend that time listening to Peter, Paul, and Mary tapes, harmonizing with them. I'm looking at a list here trying to think, so many things you brought back. The VW, somebody mentioned the black VW that we drove in high school. There was driving that over the bridge after the ecology club meeting when it had rained, packing it full of people in the school parking lot and driving it around to where it no longer squeaked. A memory that's been going through my head a lot lately has been the swimming at the Canton Y. It was mentioned how good Joe was at swimming. I remember numerous medals hanging in his bedroom from swim meets. But we would go to the Canton Y and go swimming. And there was one time a younger teenager was practicing the butterfly stroke and just flopping pretty much all over the place. And Joe started talking to him and asked him to teach him how to do it. And so this poor young thing showed Joe the basics, and Joe flopped around for a little bit and then challenged him to a race. And Joe was a fish in water. And to watch this kid give up after about 10 feet, stand there and watch Joe almost to the other end of the pool, just laughing the whole way. We would do other stupid stuff. I would climb on Tracy's shoulders, and then Tracy would climb on Joe's shoulders, and we would start at the shallow end and walk to the deep end until Joe could no longer hold his breath and dump us off. There was the time that I went over to his house, and he was bent over a picnic bench. They had a garden and had a lot of groundhog trouble. Joe turned around and held his hands up, a hunting knife in one hand, blood up to the elbows. He had been dissecting this groundhog and said, "I lost my bullet." Joe taught me how to cast jewelry. I've been thinking a lot of the things that he used to say. Someone mentioned him calling himself Esquire. Another favorite saying of his in high school was, "I can easily disarm you, and I don't mean take away your weapons." Joe was my best man at my first wedding, and I was his at his first. And I still have the dragon that he gave me for that. And no, guys, you are not getting it. Maybe I'll leave it in my will, but there are so many memories with Joe. We could be here all day talking about them, but I absolutely loved growing up with him. I hate that life took us in opposite directions. And Joe, I'll always remember you. You will always be my brother. And I'm a better person for having known you. if nothing else, you're the reason I changed my name. You know, Wendell was a terrible name, as Susie can tell you, but he's the one that talked me into going by my middle name and making that change too. So lots of stuff. I won't keep you guys any longer, but Laurie, Alvin, Marion, Carolyn, good to see you guys again. And thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for doing this for Joe. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tammy Brewer. I met Joe, gosh, I don't even remember how many years ago. I've known him most of my career in mosquito control, it feels like. Some of the things that stand out about Joe, besides his presentations and things like that, are the fact he was always trying to help us. And I was serving on the board of directors with him, and we were trying to find a way to get Dr. Harrison to the South Carolina meeting so that we could present him with one of our awards. And Joe was on the board with us. He goes, I'll get him there. He says, he's put him on speakerphone. So I get my phone on speakerphone, and I said, hey, Bruce, I said, Joe says he'll bring you to the meeting if you'll come. He goes, yeah, I would love to come. So yeah, tell him to bring me and you make the arrangements and everything. And I said, okay, well, yeah, sure, we can do that. And Joe was all about, we're going to get this, we're going to make this happen. So Joe had to leave to go do something else for work. And after he left, the board started talking to like, so we know Joe's going to be at the meeting. We want to give him an award as well because of all the contributions and help he's done. And we know he's going to be there this time because he's bringing Bruce. So that night at the banquet, when we went to present the award to Dr. Harrison, they presented the award to him, and then they start doing the Silver Dipper Award, which was the next one. And Joe was sitting next to me at dinner that night, and all of a sudden when he starts listening to him, he starts looking puzzled, and all of a sudden he goes, oh my God, the look of shock and astoundment on his face was priceless. So we wanted to recognize him for all the help he's done there. And even for us, I live in the Columbia area, and in 2015, we had a 1,000-year flood event. Joe showed up trying to help us with anything and everything that he could. So he's always been helpful. And yes, the warm hugs and everything, absolutely. I remember going to the AMCA meeting in Seattle, and that was when the Seahawks had just won the Super Bowl. And I was getting out of my sister's car. My sister lives there, and I was getting out of my sister's car, and there's Joe on the sidewalk. I'm like, Joe, hey, and go up, give him a big hug. And my sister's like, can you not go anywhere without knowing people? I said, well, okay, I'm cheating because he's from North Carolina. So we've been friends for a long time. So he would always ask about my sister. And he was trying to encourage my daughter to get into the field as well. So yeah, Joe was always a lot of help in every possible way. He would hang out with us, like Ryan said, and he was always a lot of fun at the meetings. So yeah, we're going to miss him a lot, but thank you.
This is Rose Kelly. I knew Joe also through mosquito control. And I unfortunately didn't see him a great deal because I didn't always go to the meetings. They don't always let us travel out of Georgia, but I could always be assured of a big hug and, you know, a friendly, hey, let's have dinner, let's talk, let's have a good time. How you doing? Every time I saw Joe. And one of the things that really stuck in my head, because I did get a chance to meet Alvin once, but it was like I already knew her when I met her because Joe talked about her so lovingly. So we will miss him. Thank you.
Hey, I wanted to talk about my dad a little bit. I'm Aria. I'm Molly's sister. Anyways, I'm just gonna wing this. I have a few things written down, but I'm just gonna wing it anyways because I feel that that's appropriate. Probably not as good as a public speaker as my dad, but you know, he tried. He wasn't very good at it either until he tried a bunch, and I bet y'all know that. Anyways, the least I can do is just follow in his footsteps. He was the most talented person ever. You know, the reason that he's the most talented person ever because he gave 100% everything that he gave to, including his family, his jobs, his friends, etc. I'm sure all of y'all realize that. Anyways, like I said, I'm gonna wing He was an amazing father. He was always supportive of myself, my sister, and the rest of our family. He tried very hard, and he was successful in everything that he did. I'm finding some of that power in myself as I continue to kind of do my thing. And I invite any of y'all that would like to continue to be in my life to reach out, ask me for my contact information if you don't have it. It's great to see the rest of my extended family, Aunt Laurie, Katie, Alec, Miss Marion, Aunt Carolyn, Mr. Doug, Molly, obviously. It's great to see y'all. I really appreciate y'all doing this for me. I had my own memorial service this morning as Dad gave himself to swimming, and I tried that as well when I was young. I've started to give myself to sports because this is one of the things that you know, we've both figured out how to do is to calm ourselves and keep cool. And I'm actually really proud to have gotten the athletic ability from my father. And so I did a ride down to Mexico this morning on my bike and back, about 70 or 80 miles of thinking about him. And all I can say is that I think about him every day, and everything reminds me of him. And it's really great to hear all the stories that everybody shared, because he's definitely shared those stories back. I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aria.
I'm Katie.
Oh. Wait a minute, what do we do?
Okay, is that better? Okay, sorry, we're in the same room, as you can tell. I'm Katie, I'm Laurie's daughter. I was gonna echo what Aria said about Uncle Joe loving his family. I think since from the time I was in middle school, he was telling me I should get my master's. Didn't matter what it was, I needed to get my master's from middle school on, and he could just see potential in me, and he just believed in me no matter what. And every Christmas and Thanksgiving, it was when are you going to get your master's? So I was pretty proud when I finally did it. And He was the life of the party. At Thanksgiving and Christmas especially. Lots of stories. All of you from farmers market to work, we have heard your names forever. It's nice to see you. He loved you. He loved his job. He loved the farmers market. And we knew all about the struggles of the farmers market. And I just appreciate you all coming today.
Well, thanks to all that have taken this time to say the things that bring back the memories. I'll give us one last chance. If there's anyone else that would like to speak, go ahead and do so.
Yes, I would like to. Can you hear me?
Yes, Alvin, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Well, I know it's not considered appropriate for the widow to speak. However, there is one thing that I think Carolyn left out of her rafting story, and I wanted to put that in. I had been a certified Nantahala River raft guide for 5 years when we went on this rafting trip. And I was sitting on the right side of the raft. Joe was on the left side of the raft. Carolyn was in front of us. And our raft guide, who knew a whole lot more about football than he did rafting, put us in a hole. And so Carolyn and the other guy in the front, got launched out. And so Carolyn, was outside the raft on the other side from me, and she was, we were passing her. And, the thing to do is to hold out your paddle, pull them in. And Joe just, he gave her a very cheerful wave as she went by. It of course we got her back in and everything, but it was just the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life, Oh, my sister's in the water floating by. Bye, Carolyn. I guess that's why widows are not supposed to speak at memorial services, because that was Joe, he had a tremendous sense of humor, and I guess that's it. Thanks.
I did want to say a few words about my father. He was just an absolutely incredible man and so wonderful to be around. He had a heart of gold. He never met anybody, from the waitress that maybe he shouldn't have talked so much to. He always made a note to remember their name, tell them to take the rest of the day off. I listened to so many hours of him being on the phone. He would often just ask me if I wanted to go wherever he was going, some hotel up and down the East Coast, and I would always be game. So we traveled probably 1,000,000 miles together, and he had like his little Bluetooth, like before it was a thing, like he would rig it into his, and he just had the best phone personality. He had the best personality in general, but it's amazing how much you get to know somebody by how they speak to strangers. And I remember he did get in trouble one time because he called someone up north darling, and she wasn't used to it, but he called everybody darling. Sweetie was always very friendly and loved to talk to them. But yeah, we spent a lot of times just traveling in new places and finding an odd hole in the wall to get something to eat, and he just had this great, wonderful, caring personality that just spoke volumes to what he gave to us as his family. He was just such a giving and wonderful person. There's too many things from my childhood. I remember him tying towels around our waist to see how many ticks we could collect on a white towel within 100 yards or so. Still to this day, anytime he would come out to my farm, he'd be looking through my water troughs or looking around the property to see what mosquitoes he could find. We would stop by random ditches to see if he could find mosquito fish for some upcoming project or something. But he always had an adventure that he wanted to take us on. He taught me and my sister how to swim from the earliest age. He'd wrap us around his neck and he'd take us from one side of the pool to the other. He just was, you never knew what to expect, but it was always going to be fun, and it was always going to be an adventure. And like Aria said, I'm going to think about him every day and take a little bit of that adventurous spirit with me everywhere. But I do want to thank everybody for being here. It's so great to see some of you again that we've maybe seen at conferences, and of course some of our family as well. So thank you so much for being here, and Lori and Marion for setting this up for us. This has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Well, I would like to read Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen.
Hello, this is Marion again. I would like to read a poem by Christina Rossetti. When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no rights in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Miss me a little, but not for long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that once we shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all part of the master plan, a step on the road to home. When you are lonely and sick at heart, go to the friends we know. Laugh at all the things we used to do. Miss me, but let me go. Thank you.
And now I would like to introduce Robert and Meredith. I believe they spoke a little bit ago, but they're going to sing I'll Fly Away.
I'm Meredith, and I'm Robert's daughter. And I just want to say that it's a great honor to sing this for Mr. Joe. So glad when this life is over, to God's celestial shores, I'll fly away. Oh, I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. When the shadows of this life have grown, I'll fly away. Like a bird from prison bars afloat, I'll fly away. Oh, I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Just a few more weary days and then I'll fly away. To heaven where joy shall never end, I'll fly away. Oh, I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Oh, I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. I'll fly away.
Well, thank you so much, Meredith and Robert, for that. I would like to thank everyone that has joined today for this celebration of life service. I know that the family really is happy that you joined. It was great to hear all the stories about Joe and to see his life. I would like to just leave you with this. Joe's passing, is still a little bit, it's not very far away from our memories. But as the days go on, I would encourage all of you to stay in touch with each other, to check on each other, and to stay in touch. So I would leave you with that. If you would like to make a donation in lieu of flowers, you could do so. Joe would have liked for you to support these charities: Spark for Autism, the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, and Autism Speaks. Those charities' websites are listed at the bottom of Joe's obituary, which is on MEM.com. So this concludes our service. Once again, thanks so much for being a part.